What's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Wednesday, July 10th, 2024, and we are back with another stream here on the Tori and Rain Reloaded channel. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to go ahead and hit that like button, hit that share button, hit the subscribe button if you are new to the channel. And if you are new, welcome to the channel. Make sure to hit the bell twice to be notified whenever I upload a new video or go live. I would greatly appreciate it. Shout out to everybody who is a member over here on the channel. Shout out to everybody who is a patron over there on Patreon. Shout out to everybody in the Discord, on X, Instagram, all those who send me stories. I greatly appreciate it. So yes, we are back for the fourth installment of Migrant Madness, and I'm here to tell you we have a lot of stories to cover today. We have 11 stories in total, so we're going to be here for a little bit. But before I get into all of that, let me go ahead and acknowledge the people who are here in the chat. We got Hacksign KT, Firebat, Reparations Nations, Wallow J, I Am 6, Keith Cunningham, Chris Vesey, Volvo to Love, Kush God Returns, Jasmine Virgo, Denise Scales, Andre, Stitching Goods, Anita Harrell, Dewani, and J Cage. Shout out to everybody who is here so far in the chat. Even though it seems like it is way more because it says 53 people watching it, and it's like not that many people in the chat, but it is what it is. We got Missions Vision, here in the chat as well, and DSB and Tawana. And shout out to Tawana because most of these, most of these stories that we're going to be talking about today, all was posted in Discord by her. Like, she was the one that pretty much was posting this. I was literally still getting stories and posting them into my own little box to have to use for the day this morning. So, yeah, it's a lot of stories. It was actually a 12th story in here, but I think I'm going to save that one for the Patreon. But we got the other 11, and it's a lot of stuff. Some of the stories you may have heard, some of you may have not. And I like to always have them in some kind of an order. So the earliest story that I'm going to talk about, it was from June 17th. And the most recent one was from yesterday. So it's a lot. And yeah, I think it's 11 in total. So we got a lot of ground to cover this evening. But shout out to everybody else who just came in. Got Kid Gravity is in here. Breeze Omega just got in here as well. But not to hold on any longer, let me go ahead now and get started with this stream. So this story right here is coming out of New Mexico called Sunland Park. Now we can just look at this woman and just tell what her future is like just by looking at her. I mean, she got the tats all over her face. I'm not even going to try to figure out what each one means. But I also noticed that on her face, why does it look like her face is cracking? I don't know what that's all about. I have no clue what that's supposed to mean. But anyway, according to this, it says Sunland Park woman arrested for orchestrating, kidnapping, and cross-border murder plot. Police arrested a 33-year-old woman from Sunland Park who they believe instructed two men to kidnap a man, take him to Juarez, and execute him as revenge for a previous incident. And y'all saying that she's in the gang? Most likely. I wouldn't put it past her. On Thursday, the Sunland Park Police Department arrested Rosa Isela Nahara for allegedly ordering two men to beat and kidnap Ramon Gomez Diaz to quote-unquote teach him a lesson, and ordering her 14-year-old daughter to record it and post it to social media. So she was going to get her daughter involved in this. According to the arrest report, on April 29th, the victim, Gomez Diaz, entered the Sunland Park police station to tell officers that he had just left the hospital after being beaten up, kidnapped, and put into a car to be taken across the border to Juarez to be deleted. According to police, Gomez Diaz suffered fractured ribs and multiple injuries to his body, including his face and head. On the May 1st, the victim's son then reportedly told Sunland Park law enforcement that a video posted on social media showed the incident. The video allegedly shows Najera making accusations of abuse and handing a weapon to two men who pulled Gomez Diaz out of his home, beat him, and forced him into a vehicle. According to the arrest report, Gomez Diaz, as well as the victim's son and Najir's own 14-year-old daughter, positively identified Najira as the woman seen in the video. Police said Najira's daughter also told them her mother ordered her to record the incident on video. Najira is being held without bond and is charged with conspiracy to commit first-degree felony, conspiracy to commit fourth-degree felony, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, failure to comply with conditions of release. So that's the entire story right there. And as you can clearly tell, she was doing this against another one of her in her tribe. I'll just put it like that. I think the part that got me the most is the fact that she actually incorporated her 14-year-old daughter into all of this. And they try to say that black parents don't know how to raise their kids. Look at this woman right here who, like y'all said, most likely is in a gang. And she sure looks like she is. The way she was doing this, I wouldn't be surprised if she was. Anita says she looks rough. Oh, yes. Rough is an understatement. She looks like she harbors a lot of masculine energy. I'm going to be completely honest with you. So there's that story right there. So let's move on now to the next story. And this one happened or was reported on June 18th. I'm trying to pause this damn ad, but it's not pausing for some reason. But anyway, that Trump ad has nothing to do with this video. So what is this one talking about? Migrant Mob allegedly pummeled NYPD cops checking on unattended children outside of the New York City homeless shelter. A mob of migrants are facing gang assault charges after allegedly pummeling two NYPD cops outside a Queens hotel shelter. Prosecutors and law enforcement sources said Tuesday 4 men were busted after they attacked two of New York's finest shortly before 4:30 a.m. Monday as the cops were checking on 3 unattended children outside the converted Long Island City Hotel that now houses quote-unquote asylum seekers. I don't know why they keep calling them asylum seekers because honestly, you know what, I'm going to just leave that one alone. When they asked about the unsupervised kids, the men allegedly pounced on them. In an effort to check the children's safety, they approached a nearby group of adults to make sure that the children were being supervised, Queens District Attorney Melinda Katz said in a statement. At that point, a group of approximately 5 adults began punching, kicking, and shoving the officers, with 2 assailants throwing bikes and striking the cops. Law enforcement sources told the Post that all 4 suspects, Juan Munoz, age 25, Alejandro Munoz, age 42, Karina Navarro Chavez, age 42, and Miguel Shalawiza, age 23, are migrants housed at city-funded sites. Keywords there, city-funded. So basically, they are paying for criminality to just be doing criminality-based things. Juan and Alejandro and Navarro Chavez were also charged. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped the part. All 4 were arraigned Tuesday before Judge Edward Daniels on charges of assault, attempted assault, criminal possession of a weapon, resisting arrest, and obstructing governmental administration. Juan and Alejandro and Navarro Chavez were also charged with child endangerment, while Shalawiza was tracked down and nabbed nearly an hour after fleeing the melee. Is additionally charged with 2nd and 3rd degree escape. A 5th suspect, a woman, hit one of the cops with a child's bike but fled the scene. The DA's office asked that all 4 suspects be held without bail, but Daniels set bail at $50,000 cash in cash or a $150,000 bond for each. They are due back in court on Friday. So they wanted to not give them a bond, but this person gave them a bond anyway. The cowardly assault is similar to a January 7th attack on 2 other NYPD cops in Times Square by a larger migrant mob, leading to indictments against 7 of the asylum seekers. In that caught on video incident, the officers were trying to get a large crowd to disperse when one of them grew violent and wrestled with the cops, with his pals coming to his aid and beating on the cops. See what has been allowed to just flood right into the establishment. I told y'all we got, for those of y'all who are just getting here, I told y'all we got 11 stories today or this evening. This is only story number 2. We got 10 more to go. And I'm telling you right now, if y'all thought the first 2 stories was something, just hang on to your hats, because some of them are going to just get downright disturbing and very traumatizing. So y'all ain't seen nothing yet. Trust me when I tell you that. And shout out to everybody that just came into the chat. Make sure, if you have not done so already, to go ahead and hit the like button. I would appreciate it if you did that. And shout out, we got 131 people in the chat so far. I appreciate it. So now let's move on to the next story. Now, this one right here doesn't involve a south of the Borderian, but it is involving a migrant nonetheless, because after all, the name of it is called Migrant Madness, so it doesn't have to necessarily be the south of the Borderian. It's just that the south of the Borderian makes up a bulk of the stories. No, this one comes from Haiti. Now look at this. Haitian migrant accused of violating a teen girl in Boston freed on $500 bail. I told you the stories were just going to get downright disturbing as we move forward. And I tried to keep them in a date order so we can be in some kind of sequence. Look at the title. You gave a $500 bail to someone who violated a teenager. It doesn't even matter, first of all, that they're Haitian. It's the fact that they did it. And you gave them a $500 bail? A Haitian migrant accused of violating a 15-year-old at a Massachusetts shelter has been released on bail despite a request from federal immigration officials to keep him in jail. Corey Alvarez, who had been held without bail since his March arrest, was freed on a measly $500 bail on Tuesday after the Plymouth County Superior Court ignored a request from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, known as ICE. My thing is this: if y'all are going to keep ignoring these requests, then why do you even have ICE to begin with? Because it sounds like y'all not even trying to allow ICE to do their job, to keep the suspect in custody. And here's his picture right here. This is the culprit. Now, I find it very interesting that they're calling him an Haitian migrant, but that last name Alvarez has SOB vibes written all over it. But that's him. That's the creep, and for lack of a better word, right there. Alvarez was released following a dangerousness hearing, a spokesperson with the Plymouth County District Attorney's Office told the Post Friday. When we then requested that Alvarez be held on a $10,000 cash bail with numerous conditions of release, the judge set the bail at $500. Did y'all hear that? How did you go from 10,000 to 500? Alvarez, age 26, was released with an ankle monitor, but ICE officials can't track him because Boston is a sanctuary city, meaning local authorities don't have to cooperate with the feds. The suspect was also ordered to remain in home confinement, surrender his passport, and check in twice monthly with probation, according to legal filings obtained by the Globe. He is due back in court on August 13th. Federal immigration authorities said in March that they had filed an immigration detainer against Alvarez with the Plymouth County Sheriff's Office. However, a spokesperson for the Enforcement and Removal Operations Division of ICE told the Globe that Plymouth Superior Court officials refused to honor its detainer. The Plymouth County DA's office did not return the Post request for a comment. ICE sources, meanwhile, are fuming about the migrant's release. One source blasted it as a standard Democratic BS, which makes it almost impossible to do our jobs. The dumbass judges are the ones causing a lot of these issues by ignoring the root of the problem. California, New York, Illinois, Massachusetts, and other blue states all do this BS. If we run records checks on people out of those states, they have policies that are in place to prevent sharing of any information. Former ICE Field Office Director John Fabricatore said Alvarez's release is emblematic of a concerning trend of inadequate and failed vetting procedures. This rushed process undermines the thorough checks typically conducted before granting parole or visas. The current administration's haphazard approach raises significant safety concerns for U.S. citizens. In particular, this recent case involving an accusation of violation by a Haitian national admitted under the Biden parole program highlights the ongoing issue. Additionally, sanctuary city policies continue to provide protection to foreign-born criminals rather than safeguarding law-abiding tax-paying citizens. Alvarez had no known criminal history when he entered the U.S. at JFK Airport in June 2023 under President Biden's controversial parole program for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. Did anyone know that that was a thing? I don't know if KG is still in the chat, but did anybody know that Biden had something called a parole program for them? Because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think I've ever heard of it. And if I did, maybe I wasn't paying attention. Following Alvarez's arrest in March, Representative Jim Jordan spearheaded an inquiry into the CHNV program. Alvarez's entry documents indicated he would be living with a sponsor in Elizabeth, New Jersey, but he eventually ended up in the Comfort Inn in Rockland, Massachusetts, which had been converted into a migrant shelter. He was arrested at the shelter on March 13th in connection with the violation of a disabled teenage girl. So now we know the girl had a disability. He violated me, the victim told investigators at South Shore Hospital. According to the Herald, I asked him to leave me alone, but he didn't stop. Alvarez pleaded not guilty to one count each of aggravated violation of a child with a 10-year age difference and violation of a child by force. In a comment to the Globe, Alvarez's lawyer, Brian A. Kelly, said that his client was released due to the inconsistencies in the evidence and the victim's version of events. At a dangerousness hearing in March, Rockland Police Sergeant Detective Gregory Pigeon testified that the victim pointed out Alvarez as the man who allegedly assaulted her. During an interview with police, Alvarez claimed that he was trying to fix the girl's iPad, but was not able to, so he let her call her mother with his phone. Okay. If you say that, if you say so. He alleged that the girl then left his room without incident. Man, this is like I told y'all, this thing is entitled Migrant Madness for nothing. And shout out to Blitz 7094 for the 1999. He says, "Say, did you hear about the Romaine? I'm guessing you meant Romanian nationalists exploiting undocumented migrants in California. Just YouTube Romanian nationalists. They said Latinos were not intelligent. Please do a video on this if you can." Well, I appreciate. That's actually my first time hearing about it. I never heard of that, but I do appreciate the contribution. Maybe I'll talk about that in my next Migrant Madness. I'll put a pin in that. Jason said he looks Dominican. I heard people were saying that he does look like he's Dominican. I mean, you know, Haiti and the Dominican Republic do share the same island. But yeah, like I said, they're labeling him as Haitian, but that last name Alvarez is not Haitian. So I think there's a bit of an admixture going on there. But either way, what he did and how they handled it, I don't know what's worse, what he did or how they handled it, or both. I'm going to go with both. All right, y'all, that was story number 3. Let's go on to story number 4. Now, this one right here, I think many of you have heard, but we'll find out. So we're going to Chicago now. This one was posted on July 3rd, and it's titled Migrant Bit Cop bit Chicago cop twice during arrest while on pretrial release for biting another cop. They gonna have to put a muzzle on this man like he's Hannibal Lecter. A Venezuelan migrant bit a Chicago police officer twice as cops tried to arrest him in the Loop last week, officials say. Yanaker de Jesus Arevalo Ortiz was already on felony pretrial release for allegedly biting another cop who arrested him less than 3 weeks earlier. Video of the latest arrest quickly went viral, showing Arevalo Ortiz yelling at bystanders and bracing his foot against the patrol car door frame. The footage shows him fighting with officers as they try to get him into the back of the squad outside the Standard Club Shelter 330 South Plymouth around 6 p.m. on June 24th. A crowd gathered around the officers and tensions grew. The cops declared a 10-1 police emergency for backup, and one officer held off the crowd by wielding his taser. According to the CPD report, the officers stopped Arevalo Ortiz because they were told that he was wanted for criminal damage to property at the University of Illinois at Chicago. Ortiz immediately tried to break away from the officers and bit one of the cops on the wrist as they escorted him to the squad car. As the struggle continued near the squad, Ortiz bit the same officer on the forehead, according to the report. Backup officers responding to emergency calls for help eventually stuffed Ortiz into a larger prisoner transport vehicle and hauled him off to jail. Aggravated battery of a peace officer is not a detainable offense in Illinois unless the officer suffers great bodily harm or there are other factors involved. He got bit twice, once on the wrist and on the forehead. I would consider that to be bodily harm. So prosecutors and Judge David Kelly didn't have an option to keep him in custody on the charges filed against him. However, Kelly was able to detain Ortiz for violating pretrial release on another aggravated battery of a peace officer case. In that incident, 2 women told police that Ortiz threatened them in the 300 block of South Wabash on June 8th. I will come back with my guys and we have guns, he allegedly told the women ages 26 and 22. The CPD officers drove around the neighborhood with the women and they spotted Ortiz about a block away. Ortiz allegedly pulled away from the officers who tried to detain him. He punched one officer in the mouth and bit the cop's hand, according to a report. A second officer was also injured during the struggle. He was charged with 2 counts of aggravated battery of a peace officer, 2 counts of assault, 2 counts of resisting, and obstruction of identification. None of those charges are detainable in Illinois. See what I mean? They literally are getting a cakewalk right now. Ortiz remains in the county jail for violating pretrial release. So this guy literally is only being held for violating a previous crime. It sounds like they're barely doing anything for what he just did. Reflection says, what does his teeth look like? This guy must got Jaw's mouth. But that's his picture right here, in case y'all needed to see it. DSB said, let that have been one of us. We would be 6 feet up. Hey. Gwendolyn said, well, I live in Chicago. Blacks go to jail for fighting police. Right. And another reason why I'm doing these stories is because I also want to show y'all the hypocrisies of how they deal with them versus how they deal with us. And these individuals aren't even from here. They swam, hopped, however they got here across that border and got in here illegally. And this is what they came with. I keep telling y'all, like I've said in previous streams, whatever they were doing in their homeland, they brought their bad habits over here. So this guy most likely was an issue over in Venezuela. So now let's move on to the next story. Now this one, I'm sure many of you have heard about. I didn't get an opportunity to talk about it in a video or even do it when I was doing my Migrant Madness initially. But I'm sure some of you have many heard about this. It was this young white woman, young lady, I should say, named Laken Riley, who was unalived by someone. And I remember who they tried to pin it on, but then it came out that that wasn't the case. It actually turned out to be one of them south of the Borderians. Well, now they found that it was a gang linked to her untimely demise. So it says cops nab founder of notorious Venezuelan gang linked to Laken Riley murder, NYC gun smuggling. Authorities in Colombia arrested a founder of El Tren de Aragua, the notorious Venezuelan gang that has infiltrated the U.S. via the southern border and has been linked to crimes across the country, including the murder of college student Laken Riley and smuggling guns into migrant shelters in New York City. The gang's co-founder, 45-year-old Larry Alvarez, who goes by Larry Changa, escaped prison in 2015 in Venezuela and fled to Chile and then Colombia when he entered the country using fake papers in 2022, according to Colombian authorities. Alvarez, who is wanted by 196 countries. Let me read that again. Alvarez, who is wanted by 196 countries and is accused of being one of three of the gang's founders, was arrested in the central area of Circassia, Colombia's defense ministry said Monday. Police in Venezuela and Chile also have warrants for his arrest for terrorism, arms trafficking, aggravated extortion, and kidnapping. Several high-profile migrant crimes in the U.S. have been carried out by members of the Tren de Aragua, leading federal authorities to open more than 100 investigations related to the gang. Suspects in the U.S. tied to the transnational gang, whose names mean the Aragua train in English because it started as a railway workers union from that region, include Jose Ibarra, the Venezuelan migrant who allegedly killed Georgia nursing student Laken Riley, and Bernardo Raul Castro Mata, who is accused of shooting 2 NYPD cops on June 3rd. And that's the picture of Laken Riley right there. If y'all see your picture, y'all probably, oh, that's her. I feel like I talked about this dude before now that I see his picture. Castro Mata previously told cops he was recruited by the Venezuelan gang's Big Apple coordinator to be a part of its group of snatch and grab moped thieves. He also revealed that the gang is smuggling guns into NYC migrant shelters by concealing them in food delivery bags. Tren de Aragua members are smuggling firearms into city shelters and food delivery packages. That way they don't have to go through the metal detectors, Castro Mata told police in recordings taken after he turned on the crew. He also revealed that the gang commonly shoots at cops because police in Venezuela shoot gang members for minor infractions. What did I just tell y'all? What did I just say? Whatever they were doing over there, they are doing over here. The gang also continues to be an issue for the Venezuelan government, which sent 11,000 soldiers in September 2023 to seize a prison the gang took control of in the region of Tucumán. But Ghani says, and to make it even funny, the president of Venezuela won't let the immigrants that came here back there. Yet the president is probably glad that they left. I'm still stuck on the part where they said this guy was wanted in 196 countries. Like, that's insane. That is crazy. So that's that story right there. Let's move on to the next one. So here we have, I believe this is in Chicago. And I'm gonna play it, like, I'm gonna see if I can play this in the background while I read. It says illegal immigrant caused DUI collision that killed 22-year-old in tragic hit and run. Wow. Actually, you know what? That's a different story. I'm not going to play that. That's something else. What y'all was just watching, that's a different story, but I do have that. The suspect in a deadly DUI hit and run that killed a 22-year-old in New Mexico entered the U.S. illegally. Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE confirmed. ICE confirmed to Fox News that 21-year-old Jesus Sandoval Martinez was arrested early Monday morning and charged with 2 counts of vehicular homicide, reckless driving, and leaving an accident resulting in great bodily harm or death. Authorities allege Sandoval Martinez was drunk when his Dodge pickup truck collided with a Tesla and a Toyota Corolla at an intersection in Albuquerque overnight Monday. Following the fatal crash, the 21-year-old migrant allegedly fled on foot. He knows all about fleeing, and witnesses said he was visibly impaired and slurring his words, and that is him right there. This man doesn't know where he at. He probably has no clue that he just got into a fatal accident, or an accident that caused someone's fatal untimely passing. John says, how do I get into, hold on, let me get that for you. There it is, John. Witnesses and bystanders followed him to a Walgreens and held him there until officers arrived. Law enforcement confirmed the migrant ran a red light that resulted in the death of the driver of the Tesla, identified as 22-year-old Tiger Gutierrez. Authorities said Gutierrez died and the passenger was hospitalized. The driver of the Toyota was treated for minor injuries, ICE said. Following Sandoval Martinez's arrest, ICE filed an immigration detainer against him after establishing probable cause to remove him from the U.S. ICE said it had no previous encounters with the migrant prior to the deadly crash. Fox News confirmed with a source that he is a Mexican national with no social security number, and he did not have a valid driver's license. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol processed approximately 84,000 migrants who crossed the U.S.-Mexico border without authorization in June 2024. Do y'all see that number? 84,000 in the month of June, as in last month. 84,000 in one state without authorization. If I were y'all, I would highly suggest y'all look up to see how many are coming into your state on a monthly basis. Over 13,000 quote-unquote criminal non-citizens have attempted to enter the U.S. and been apprehended by Border Patrol agents in fiscal year 2024, an increase from 4,269 in fiscal year 2019. Crimes allegedly committed by illegal immigrants are on the rise, and they continue to rise. The cases include the arrest of Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez, a 23-year-old illegal El Salvadorian migrant accused of rape. Is this another? This is the same story. Accused of violating and killing a Maryland mother named Rachel Morin. In another case, Johan Jose Martinez Rangel, age 22, and Franklin Jose Pena Ramos, age 26. Venezuelan migrants are accused of killing a 12-year-old Jocelyn Nongare. Oh, I talked about her last week or 2 weeks ago? Wow. I'm stuck on this part, the 84,000 part. Without authorization. And I think I got a super chat that just came in too. Shout out to Libby for the 5. I appreciate it.
You ain't gotta be a dope boy to have money.
Appreciate it. Y'all, what did I tell y'all? When it gets hot outside, that's when they're gonna really show up. They're gonna show out. This is absolutely insane. So there's that story right there. Oh, this one right here is a doozy, everyone. Check this out. So look at this, y'all. Illegal immigrant uses stolen identity to get a kidney transplant on taxpayers' dime. This one I'm really not surprised about. An illegal immigrant used the stolen identity of an American to sign up for Medicare and collect some $400,000 in taxpayer-funded care, including getting a kidney transplant that would have gone to a U.S. citizen. Jeremias Otinio Herrera Rosales, who was Guatemalan, spent more than a decade living under the name Daniel Glenn Guerrera. He wasn't able to hold a job due to his poor health, but he did live off government assistance that he received because he was using an American's identity. That included getting the kidney transplant in 2019 paid for by Uncle Sam. He was sentenced last week in Sioux City, Iowa to 16 months in prison. Prosecutors said that Rosales admitted that meant someone else missed out on the chance to get the kidney. The defendant took and received an organ transplant under a false identity from someone else that otherwise would have obtained it. Rosales was convicted along with his wife, Jennifer Guadalupe Herrera, and Jacqueline Guerrera, his sister. Both women are U.S. citizens. They were sentenced to a 1-month imprisonment. All three were ordered to pay a total of $500,000 in restitution. The stolen identity belonged to Guerrera's son, who lived under another name most of his life and was surprised to learn someone was using his real name. At some point, the identity victim confronted Rosales, according to court documents. Investigators also confronted Rosales in 2020. They figured that would put a stop to his fraud. When they went to arrest him last year, they were surprised to find he was still using the stolen identity and collecting Medicare benefits. Prosecutors said Rosales could have tried to win citizenship as the spouse of a U.S. citizen and would have been in the clear applying for government benefits. It's not clear why he did not take that step. Oh, that's easy. He got greedy. He was enjoying what he was doing. That he was too dumb to realize it, but he was greedy. Biden recently announced a deportation amnesty for illegal immigrants married to U.S. citizens. It would apply to roughly 500,000 people who would have been in the U.S. for at least 10 years and were married at the time the president announced this policy. Despite the announcement, the administration has yet to detail the program's parameters, so it's unclear whether Rosales' criminal conviction would be enough to make him ineligible. Wow. Stole this man's whole identity. Well, I don't know if it's a man or woman, but I'm assuming it's a man. Stole their whole identity to get a kidney transplant. And like they said, the worst part is that could have went to somebody else that needed a kidney. And as someone who knows people who've had to get kidney transplants, and that waiting list, it's a long waiting period. And then you got to continuously go to dialysis while you wait to get that kidney. And even in some cases, you might still have to go to dialysis, just maybe not as much after you get the kidney, just to make sure everything is still working. And that's not just the waiting list for a kidney. That's for any organ transplant. That waiting, people wait years to get an organ. And the crazy part about it is you have to literally wait for somebody to die. And then they got to match you and see if it's a match. That's wild when you put it into that perspective. So there's that story right here. Let's move on to the next one. Now, this one is a double whammy because it's 2 crimes in one. So we have this one right here. It says sucker punching migrant violator will finally be deported. So my question is, before I even get into the story itself, is how long has he been here before they say we're going to finally deport him? A convicted migrant violator on lifetime parole who managed to stay in the U.S. thanks to legal loopholes will finally be sent back home. Van Phu Bui, oh, that sounds like an Asian, fractured a Bronx man's skull in 2022 with a brutal sucker punch. now serving time for heinous crime. Bowie, age 56. It's crazy because the last Bowie I talked about was the ringleader who burnt down that home in Colorado and with that Senegalese family. Same last name. I wonder if they're related. Wouldn't be surprised if they were. Will be deported back to his native Vietnam as soon as he's released from prison, a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement official told the Post this week. Bowie came to the U.S. in 1985 through Seattle seeking asylum. So now that lets me know how long he's been. So he's been here for almost 40 years. 6 years later, he was in the Big Apple and arrested for the first time for attempted robbery. Additional details about that incident were immediately available. An immigration judge ordered Bowie removed from the United States on February 5th, 1991. But Bowie wasn't booted because of a 1990 law that shields migrants from deportation to countries facing natural disaster or war. So Bowie settled in Claremont in the Bronx, where he violated a teenage girl at gunpoint on Christmas Eve in 1994. He was convicted in 1995 and sentenced to 6 years to life, ultimately serving 20. Yet officials were unable to deport him in 2015 thanks to a 2008 deal excluding Vietnamese nationals who arrived in the U.S. before 1995 from being reprimanded. I'll just put it like that. He should have been removed a long time ago, an ICE source told the Post. Then in August 2022, Bowie, now homeless, cold-cocked Jesus Cortez Cabrera without warning outside the Fuego Tapico restaurant in Fordham Manor. Cortez Cabrera, who teaches Mexican dance to children, spent 3 weeks in the hospital with severe brain bleeding and a skull fracture. The case sparked headlines after cops charged Bowie with attempted murder, only to have the Bronx District Attorney's Office downgrade the charge to assault. Bowie was convicted in May and received a 3.5 to 7 year sentence. Once Bowie's current sentence is served, he'll finally be shipped back home. Officials insisted thanks to recently relaxed reprimanded agreements, first initiated in 2019 by the Trump administration. He will be amenable to removal from the United States to Vietnam upon completion of his prison sentence. Cortez Cabrera said learning of Bowie's decades-old deportation order was disappointing. I would have hoped that he got deported the first time so he wouldn't have hurt me, Cortez Cabrera explained. It shouldn't have happened. It's a miracle that I am alive. Cortez Cabrera said Bowie deserved more prison time than he got. If this guy spends 3 years in jail and then they deport him to Vietnam, I want him to stay in jail in Vietnam. He is very, very bad, and he'll do the same thing there. I don't think he'll change. Honestly, like I said, I believe he was probably doing that stuff there before he got over here back in 85. I'm going to check the temperature in the room right quick, y'all. Put a 1 in the chat if these stories are just blowing your mind right now. Put a 2 if you're not surprised by anything that you're hearing. And shout out to the 251 people that are here in the chat so far. I'm glad you all here. We actually only got 3 more stories. Okay, I'm seeing some 2s. I'm seeing some 1s. I'm seeing a mixture of both. It's okay. Really, with that response, is really no bad response you can or wrong response you can give, because it is shocking, but it also at the same time it's not surprising. Some of these stories are probably just like blindsiding you, like it's crazy because you didn't hear it until now. So let's move on now to the next story. So now we are leaving New York and we are heading back to Chicago. So listen to this. Migrants stole raided Ulta store, taking colognes worth $1,740. Now, what's crazy is, if y'all remember a couple months back, I did a video about a woman named Stephanie Mack, who was basically running that Ulta beauty scam or whatever that thing was. So when I saw this, it reminded me of her. 2 Venezuelan migrants face felony charges for allegedly stealing $1,700 worth of cologne from an Ulta beauty store. Chicago police tracked down Jose Rincon, age 32, and Juan Bermudez, age 19, by following a GPS tracker inside one of the cologne boxes they took. Prosecutors said the men entered the Ulta at 1300 North Ashland around 12:30 p.m. on June 24th and loaded boxes of cologne into a book bag. The duo allegedly damaged a display case on their way out. Cops followed the GPS tracker until they saw Bermudez and Rickon in the 400 block of South Plymouth Court holding a bag similar to the one the shoplifters used. Officers allegedly found colognes worth $1,740 inside the bag. My thing is, did they steal up the whole rack? Because it says that they only stole cologne. To steal $1,700 worth of cologne, they must have took every cologne that was on the shelf. They arrested the men after an Ulta employee identified them as the shoplifters. Rincon lives at the Standard Club Shelter 320 South Plymouth, while Bermudez listed the 344 North Ogden shelter as his home address. Both men were released to await trial on charges of felony retail theft and misdemeanor criminal damage to property. Bermudez was already on pretrial release. That reminds me of the previous story we talked about. For a misdemeanor retail theft charge, according to court records. On May 16th, he was arrested after employees at Nordstrom Rack accused him and an accomplice of stealing shoes. Reparation Nation says cologne is. I mean, I know it depends. Well, it depends on what cologne you're getting, of course. But I'm trying to figure out how much cologne did they take for it to total out to almost $1,800. Because that is absolutely insane. MC Facts said cologne is high for a bottle could be like $50. Well, think about it though. $50, and they stole almost $1,800. You know how many bottles of cologne that is to get to that point if each bottle costs $50? That's a lot. I wish they would have put how many bottles they stole. All right, let's go ahead and get into this next one. We only got one more story after this one, y'all. We almost at the end. Colombian illegal migrant wanted for drug trafficking in Spain arrested after crossing the Texas border. So hold on, time out. So they are from Colombia, but they were drug trafficking in Spain, and they crossed the Texas border. Like, let's pull out a map because that's a wild turn of events right there. An illegal immigrant from Colombia wanted in Spain for drug trafficking charges has been arrested in Massachusetts, according to ICE. The 25-year-old fugitive, who has not been named, was apprehended by Massachusetts State Police in the city of Revere on June 29th after authorities said he was driving an unregistered vehicle without a license. Later that day, enforcement and removal operations in Boston, the deportation arm of ICE, lodged an immigration detainer against him in Massachusetts State Police. With a detainer requests local law enforcement to keep a suspected illegal migrant in custody until the person can be transferred to ICE and put into deportation proceedings. Spanish authorities also issued a warrant for the Colombian national for drug trafficking. An ICE spokesperson told Fox News Digital that the agency is unaware of the exact nature of the drug trafficking charges. According to ICE, the migrant crossed into the U.S. illegally more than 2 years ago on July 4th, 2022 at the Del Rio, Texas border. Border Patrol served the Colombian national with a notice to appear before a Department of Justice immigration judge and released him on an order of release of recognizance, although the date of that appearance is not known. This Colombian fugitive is wanted by Spanish authorities for trafficking poison in their country. He attempted to hide from justice in Massachusetts. We will not allow New England communities to become safe havens for the world's criminals. ERO Boston will continue to prioritize public safety by apprehending and removing the most egregious non-citizen offenders from our neighborhoods. ERO Boston arrested the fugitive at the Massachusetts State Police Revere barracks after he was released from state custody. He will remain in ERO custody pending the outcome of his removal proceedings. ICE said it is unable to identify the migrant due to privacy rights. F is privacy. F that. The spokesperson said that a person must have significant criminality in the U.S. before more details surrounding his identity can be revealed, that vehicle charges do not constitute significant criminality. Spain is a lucrative destination for drug traffickers pushing their illicit substances, with some dealers using narco submarines to transport their goods from South America to the European country. Some vessels have been known to hold about 7,700 pounds of cocaine. The Colombian Navy says it has uncovered at least 13 such vessels laden with illicit drugs in the Pacific in 2024 to date. In a sweeping 12-day operation in March, ICE said it arrested more than 200 illegal immigrants who have convictions for drug trafficking or multiple drug possessions. The agency said the illegal migrants are from 30 different foreign locations who were dealing in hard drugs like cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, methamphetamine, and other synthetic drugs. You said you looked up that perfume. Well, that's the thing about, well, you're talking about the last story. That's the thing. We don't know what cologne they took. That's the thing. It's hard to gauge how much the stuff costs because we don't know what brand they took. Someone said all the drug lords are coming in or already here. Yeah, pretty much. And the crazy part about it is they're living amongst us. And you see how long it takes for some of them to catch them? Like they said, this guy crossed here illegally in 2022, and he was just arrested last month. And the reason why, because he was driving an unregistered vehicle without a license. Imagine if the vehicle was registered and he had a license. That's what got him caught up. So that means he had over 2 years to do his dirt, which apparently was a lot, quite a bit. See, the thing is, they get caught up on some of the most minuscule things like driving without a license or driving in an unregistered vehicle. If they would have just handled that, they would still be carrying on with their quote unquote business. All right, so I have one more story to share with y'all, and it was actually one of the ones that I was telling you about involving that bus in Chicago. So this one is coming out of Chicago, this last story right here. Disturbing video shows group of Venezuelan migrants beat a Chicago Straphanger. I don't know what I be beating it. Hey, listen. All credit goes to the keyboarding class I took when I was in high school. You know, the home row keys. Because back in the day, I used to be the index finger pecker. I would just look and peck, like that's how I was. But now I can type by touch and without looking. One of the best skills that anybody can get is learning how to type without looking at the keyboard. So this one says, a disturbing new video shows the moment a group of migrant men from Venezuela attacked and robbed a Chicago Straphanger in February, with one of the men choking the victim unconscious as the rest rifled through his pockets. The four suspects, Fernando Rodriguez, Wilker Sierra, Carlos Carreno, and Yanier Garcia, approached their 49-year-old target on a Windy City commuter train on February 17th and started chatting him up. But the affable facade, which included passing around a cigarette or a joint inside the car, concealed their true motive. Suddenly, one of the migrants lunged for the unidentified victim, seized him around the neck, and sunk a chokehold that eventually knocked him out. Police said one of the suspects pulled a knife and held it to the victim's throat, as his criminal colleagues rifled through the man's pockets. The group, all of whom ranged in age from 18 to 22, grabbed $400 and a cell phone from the man before taking off. The migrants, who had been in the country for a few months at most before the attack, were arrested about 45 minutes later. Each man gave a state-funded migrant shelter as his address. Authorities charged each with robbery, aggravated battery and strangulation, and attempted murder. At a Tuesday court appearance in Cook County, a judge remanded Carreno, Loyo Rodriguez, and Garcia and cut loose Gutierrez Sierra with electronic monitoring. Their next hearing is August 28th. Immigration experts have said that 3 of the 4 defendants could be deported if they're convicted of a felony. Over the last 2 years, Chicago has seen about 35,000 migrants get sent to the city by bus or plane. The city is hosting about 13,000 of those in shelters. The attack mirrors similar incidents in New York, which has seen its share of migrant crime over the past few years. That includes a savage assault by a crew of Venezuelan migrants with rap sheets who allegedly pounced on New York finest in April and after getting caught stealing from an Upper East Side Target. And in early June, suspected predator Christian Ingalandi allegedly sexually assaulted a 13-year-old girl in Kissimmee Park in Flushing Meadows, Queens. The Ecuadorian man had been ordered to leave the country more than 2 years ago, but likely applied for some kind of relief that allowed him to stay in the country. Since the start of the migrant crisis more than 2 years ago, about 170,000 migrants have come through the Big Apple. Of those, nearly 70,000 remain in the city's care, and that's expected to cost New York about $10 billion through June 2025. So for those who want to know how that's going to affect the taxpayers, they just told you right there. Through 2025, $10 billion. And shout out to Blitz for the $9.99. I appreciate it. He said, say since it's the end of the show, could you please check on the Romanian nationalists, YouTube Romanian nationalists in the search box of you and share if you can. I appreciate the contribution.
You ain't gotta be a dope boy to have money.
Romanian. Let me see if I can find that. Josephine said that the Democrats are to blame. And he said, I bet neither one of those who are in Washington will not let them stay in their house with the extra. Oh, listen, of course not. Remember, I forgot which politician that was that said they wanted people to open up their homes to the people out there to let them stay there with them. I said, you must be out your mind. After what I just read, you want to allow that to be in anybody's home? Hey, Blitz, I tried to look up and search what it is that you were trying to search look for, but I can't find it. I don't know, Twan. I'm trying to find it. He told me to type that in, but I'm not entirely sure. Even when I looked under like Google, I couldn't find anything recently. If I had like a link, then that would be easier. That would be much easier. What was in Maryland Dimpleface? You see, dropped them off at Martha's Vineyard, and they said, "Oh yeah, I remember that." Oh, they wasn't having that. See, it was all fine when they decided they wanted to drop them off in black neighborhoods, but then when they started to go over there where they were at, then they said, "Oh no, we gotta, put a pause to that." Posting as ICE agents. Oh, I found it. Okay, I found it. Okay, I'll share it. Damn, I gotta go on something that doesn't have okay, I'll share it. I got it. All right, so we just got one additional entry in. Shout out to Blitz for sending this in, and it actually comes with a news clip. So it says Romanian nationals posed as ICE agents to rob Hispanic victims. So let's see what they're talking about here.
2 Romanian nationals accused of posing as fake immigration agents. Good evening, everyone. I'm Colleen Williams.
And I'm Annabelle Sedano. They're charged with felony robbery and hate crimes, but prosecutors believe they robbed many more people who have yet to come forward.
NBC4's Hetty Chang live right now in Tustin, where police believe their scheme began to unravel. Hetty.
Yeah, Colleen and Annabelle, before we get to that, we should point out that for the past several days, we've been trying to reach the people robbed by this pair. And police tell us these people are so intimidated, so shaken up. In one case, one man wasn't sure if he could believe or trust the actual officer talking to him about this investigation. Now, one man here in Tustin did manage to get a partial license plate, and that's what led to the arrest. Anaheim investigators arrested Laurentio Bassiano and Alexandru Vasale in Fullerton late Thursday night. Police want their faces out there because they believe the 2 Romanian nationals, who they believe to have ties to Romanian organized crime.
Now, here's the crazy part about it. I don't mean to pause it, but when you look at their pictures, many people would think that they were south of the Borderians just by, their features. So it would probably have been very easy for them to throw off the scent. But of course, they came over with their own ulterior motives.
Crime rings robbed many more people by posing as federal immigration agents, threatening to deport people who don't pay them.
This is just another ruse that
so
they're
basically
using
an extortion.
To target people that they think are not going to fight back. They're not going to go to law enforcement. And these are the people that need the money the most.
Nearly a dozen people did go to law enforcement in Anaheim, Westminster, and Tustin, including a street vendor robbed of $380 in cash and his Mexican ID card. And a week after that, they attempted to rob a man walking with his child, June 15th.
He has everything to fear. And then they just they take his money and they drive off and leave him with nothing. Thankfully, one of the victims, a man who was walking with his son in Tustin, was able to get a partial license plate.
That's scary. That's a scary situation to be in because, obviously they're afraid, and you would think it's like something maybe that they're, real, that they're actually agents.
The men are charged with 11 felony robbery counts. And because the DA's office says they went after a specific group, they're also facing hate crime enhancements.
They were specifically targeting Hispanic, mostly men, because they told law enforcement that they were targeting these individuals because, quote, they have cash, they are not smart, and they are afraid of their immigration status and that they will not go to law enforcement.
Prosecutors say the pair wore fake agent badges and in at least one case had a gun displayed in their car. The 2 were also charged with felony kidnapping, false imprisonment, and robberies in Contra Costa County. The DA's office believes the men are in the United States illegally and may be responsible for similar crimes in Washington and New York. The 2 men are being held without bail. They each face a maximum of 29 years in prison. We're live in Tustin tonight. Hetty Chang, NBC4 News.
All right, so there's a story right there. And shout out to Blitz1794 for the super chat and informing us about this because I didn't know about it. And Tawana, you said that you actually posted this in the chat. Listen, like I said, Tawana, you posted so many stories. Like whenever I get the little notification in the news tab on the Discord, it's highlighted in white. I automatically assume that it came from you because you post so many stories. Like I said this before, it'd be like 3 something in the morning or 4 something in the morning. I'm waking up and Tawana's still up in there posting. Everybody else is probably asleep. And Tawana is up working around the clock posting these stories, but I greatly appreciate it because she's a huge reason why I can continue doing these migrant madness streams, because most of these stories came from her. But yeah, that's crazy. They came over here from Romania basically with the intent to scam the south of the Borderian and was successful. And like I said, the way that they look, no one, like a lot of people will probably think that they're south of the Borderian themselves. So Juana said, I'm retired. Oh, okay. Now that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, I appreciate you. And I did see the comments that y'all left in the chat. They said amazing. They was able to pop that hate crime up for them immediately, but when it comes from us, when it comes for us, they have to sit and question it, even if it's blatantly obvious what it is. And yes, I saw the comment about what those two criminals did to them kids in White Sulphur, West Virginia. I still can't get over the fact that there's a place in West Virginia called White Sulphur, but I'm getting my stuff mixed up. That's the one with Timothy Loman. But it's another small unknown town that you would need a magnifying glass to see it on the map. 69 says illegals living better than FBA. Oh, definitely. Like I said before, they rolled out the red carpet for them. They rolled out the red carpet for them and made sure that they were taken care of, probably even before they even got here. Now, I usually would drop the link, but this stream ran a little bit longer, and I don't actually want it to go on for too long. So I'm actually not going to drop the link tonight, this evening, to bring people up. But when I go live on Friday, now, before I get out of here, I want to see who knows, because I said it. I told y'all, I think on Monday, what the live on Friday was going to be. Who in the chat knows what the live on Friday is going to be? I will definitely drop the link for that, no matter how long I go through the articles and the videos. Wallow J is on it. So on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, same place like we did today, we will be talking about Ryan Garcia. I have bookmarked so much stuff about him. I got so many stuff in my own personal, like my own DM on X. So that stream about Ryan Garcia will be going down this upcoming Friday, and I know y'all can't wait to see and hear that. I downloaded a couple of videos. I got hella articles. It's going to be quite a production. So with that being said, y'all, I'm about to go ahead and bring this stream to a close. Shout out to everybody who came through. We had 200. I think we hit like